Welcome to this edition of Dialis Introduces, and I'm joined today by Becky Holmes. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Becky is an author, a journalist, and an expert in fraud, which is today's topic and something that's particularly important to all of us these days to increase our awareness of. We've been discussing this in the business and for a while as individuals around the business about how we protect ourselves, our company and each other. So these topics are really important things to be on top of. The first thing that I'd like to talk to you about is phishing, which I understand is misspelt.
It's misspelt.
Could you explain to us a little bit about what it actually is? What's meant by that term?
Yeah, so phishing with a PH, it is basically a play on the word phishing. In other words, a fraudster does something to lure you in, so like they would with a fish. And there are different types of phishing. So most people will have heard of email phishing, which is where you get an email saying that they might be from your bank or from HMRC. That's a big one. And there'll be a link to click. Once you click on that link, you're taken to a site which is sometimes a clone of an original site, sometimes a completely made up one, and they will ask you for personal information.
Yeah.
And then all hell breaks loose. But there's also smishing, which is SMS phishing. So this is the one where you get on texts. So I've had loads of these recently. You know, you get a text saying that your tax return is due, for example, please click here or you're going to get a fine.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. There's vishing, which is voice phishing. So this is when you get, I'd imagine a lot of people watching this will have had it. You pick up the phone and there's somebody pretending to be from the bank or pretending again to be from HMRC or whatever it might be. And they will ask you for information which you shouldn't really be giving anybody. Then there is spear phishing, which is much more targeted. So this would be, let's say somebody finds somebody within your business and they think, right, I'm going to target that person because they've probably got loads of really good information. And then lastly, there is whaling, which is kind of the ultimate phishing, the ultimate fish. So this would be, let's say you as CEO, somebody would either impersonate you or they would target you because they think that you've got access to the most information. Yeah. You know, you've got the most sign off for any money. So there are many versions of it, but essentially it comes down to the same thing. Somebody is sending you a message, luring you into giving away details that you shouldn't be.
Okay. Now, as time has gone by, these things seem to have got a lot more sophisticated. So, for example, I think it was my father-in-law about a month ago wanted to ask me whether or not I thought the fine that the Inland Revenue were about to imprison him for was real and should he respond to it. That came on WhatsApp, which I presume is another type. WhatsApping is another, whatever it is. And I suggested to him when we Googled where the phone number came from that the Inland Revenue may not have an office in the Philippines. And if they did, it's unlikely that they'd be contacting him that way. So some of those things are quite obvious. The things that perhaps they use a threat, like if you don't respond to this or pay this today, you'll get, the police will come any minute.
Yeah.
And I think that seems to me something that more vulnerable people are likely to click on. But then these things seem to have advanced to be more credible over time. They seem to be moving all the time. Is that your experience?
Yeah, certainly. And I'm not even sure that you do need to be vulnerable to click on these things. All you need is to be, let's say, really busy. So last Christmas, I was expecting a parcel from Amazon, which I always am. And I got a message saying, if you want this before Christmas, you need to pay extra for postage because everything's held up. Now, I do this for a living. And yet the thought of not getting this parcel for Christmas and the fact that I was doing 10 things at once, I thought, oh my goodness. And I clicked on the link. And it was only afterwards that I thought, what am I doing? This is clearly not a thing. And I looked on the Amazon list, I looked at where my parcel was in the delivery and it was going to be delivered on time. But that sort of momentary panic, it just floored me and I clicked on it.
And you're supposed to be good at this fraud stuff.
Yeah? I know. Shall I leave now?
No. Okay. I suppose learning firsthand is the way to do it.
Well, it is. And it just goes to show how actually it just takes a moment's lapse in concentration. We are all so busy and we are always waiting for parcels. Well, my house is.
Yeah, no, I entirely get that. The Royal Mail are constantly asking me if I want parcels redirected as well. So I've seen a lot of that. When someone makes that mistake, and it's always, it's a human thing that's going to happen eventually, what's the effect on people? What ranges of effects have you seen? Presumably some quite extreme.
Yeah, so the problem with phishing is if it's done very effectively, and it can be done in a number of ways. So if somebody clicks on a link and they provide some personal information, it could then be that they also get a phone call, somebody sounding very credible, and they build up even more, they give away even more information. Now, when this is done in a business, it can be catastrophic because, of course, if somebody pretends to be you, let's say, and asks, let's say, a finance director to make a large payment, it's cleverly done.
Fortunately, our CFO is unlikely to listen to me in person if I asked her to transfer
maybe
large sums. So that's a safety net. That's a safety net for us, absolutely. But one of the things that does interest me around the effect is once someone has, say, just opened a document, a Word document or Excel that has a macro in it, that is effectively opening the key to potentially the business or someone's own bank account and their own details on their laptop. Yeah. So the consequences can run into the tens of millions for a business, certainly. Yeah. And equally as serious a consequence for an individual. I think also once something's happened and someone realizes that they might have clicked on the wrong thing, there's also a sort of, I'm going to go with shame because I can't think of a better word, where you're thinking, oh, crikey, I've done something here that's so obviously stupid. How can I fix this? So what do you do when the penny drops?
So it is a pain when the penny drops because what you've got to do is start doing the whole redoing your passwords. Because one of the issues is once somebody is in an account, they kind of have access and they can find their way around the rest of your accounts, particularly if you're somebody who has the same password for everything, which is far more common than I think any of us even still think.
Yeah, I think one of the most popular passwords is password 123.
Yeah, exactly. And it's still 0000 when it comes to the pins to unlock things. So it is a case of you need to go through and you do need to change all of those passwords. You can, if you've got a Gmail account, for example, you can set up something on Google which will tell you if your details have appeared on the dark web. And that's really important as well, because then you can go on and change those specific passwords. Once information is on the dark web, it's sold for a lot of money. Yeah. And that's, you need to be able to try.
We are quite fortunate in the business in that we have some excellent in-house IT staff, but we also have cyber experts that we call on. Yeah. So anyone in the business who finds themselves in that situation with their work account just needs to immediately identify IT, either during normal work hours, the normal way. We do actually have emergency numbers out of hours as well. Okay. So and this is one of the things with being a global company, because things are happening in Singapore or Australia when we're all asleep and vice versa. Yeah. And that has been used as leverage in the past. People getting a message on the other side of the world on a WhatsApp,
time difference,
pretending to be me, who can't be reached because I'm in a different time zone and something urgently needs to be done. So those are really difficult things sometimes to handle. Yeah. Fortunately, the level of education that we've been providing in the business, when we do our own checks every month, we have our own spoof phishing attempts to see which members of staff might click on them and become aware of. And I'm pleased to say it's a very small number. And then if you, and I've yet to have this experience, but it'll happen one day, then you have to go on and do an online training course for an hour if you've done it to make sure you can, but far better to do that than end up in a really serious situation. So
I wish more businesses took that approach, if I'm honest, because I do speak to a lot of people where they just say, we do a course once a year, it's half an hour online and you click through and that's it. And really, that people need to be tested more, just like you're doing. So I wish that was more of a common approach.
Well, for me, we need to look after the business, and the people that look after the business are our people, and they need to know how to do that. But also we want to look after the people themselves. And sometimes these attacks are intended to gain access to the business. Sometimes they pretend to be from the business to gain access to the person's personal details. And so these attackers don't discriminate. They'll take anyone's money. And having that knowledge disseminated is an important thing. So if affected, next steps are personally change passwords.
Personally change passwords. If you see a phishing email or text or whatever, you can report it to the National Cyber Security Centre. And you can forward a text to, it's 7726, which actually spells out spam on the on your keypad. It's really important to do that. It doesn't mean that anything's going to happen. It doesn't mean that you will get any money back or details. But it's important for anything to be reported, just so that the powers that be are aware of how big a problem these things are.
So our message internally remains, call the IT department if you're in any doubt about whether something's real or not. You can also speak to IT directly in working hours, raise the alert. If you've clicked on something and suddenly think later on, actually, maybe that doesn't feel right. Please don't worry about whether you're wasting anyone's time or not, because there's no such thing as a waste of time in terms of protecting yourselves and the business from fraud. The implications can be quite far-reaching. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for the insight.